Hey guys, Shavuot Tov. So, interesting development here. For the last few weeks, maybe even months, a lot of people have been talking about this whole situation with Trump and Qatar and how close he's getting with them, and that he's basically abandoned Israel and abandoned the Jewish people, and now he invited the Saudis to the White House and all this kind of stuff. And it's interesting that I've been saying, this is just my own kind of opinion, theory. I've heard from other people, but not too many people, that essentially he is trying to pull these entities away from Iran. He's trying to pull them close to him. And anytime, you have business dealings or friendships or what have you with anybody, they, at some point, you do something for them, and then they owe you a favor, right? And if they don't repay you the favor, then they're going to have problems on their hands, right? A lot of people are saying, oh no, he's abandoned Israel, he's abandoned the Jewish people. Well, my friends, last week, it's interesting because we know by Rabbi Kessin, and I'm just kind of here, guys, I don't know if you guys have noticed, I'm just kind of here as Rabbi Kessin's, I don't know how to put this, self-designated on-camera representative. Not that he needs an on-camera representative, but, because he is on YouTube, right? Even though he doesn't have internet and he doesn't have email or anything like that. But Rabbi Kessin for years has been saying that Trump is essentially the good part of Eisav. He represents the good part of Eisav. He represents the part of Eisav, Yaakov's twin brother, that's here to kind of essentially do the rectify first and foremost, himself in this case being the Western world, being a Western civilization, a dome, as it were, right? But the thing you guys should know is that Eisav, no matter what, and this is something that happened we read in last week's Parsha, Eisav, no matter what, has a relationship with Ishmael, which is obviously, as we see, represented by the Islamic world, right? Eisav married Ishmael's daughter, right? And it's interesting, guys, because we had this meeting all the way at the end of last week on Friday, right? Pretty much, if you're Jewish, it was right before Shabbos, right? With Mamdani in the White House, right? Essentially the representative of Ishmael, right? Who's about to be the mayor of the most Jewish city in history outside of Israel. And he met in essentially Eisav's office, right? And it happened at the end of the week. And it's interesting, the end of the Parsha actually outlines how Eisav marries Ishmael's daughter, and it gives you like Eisav's lineage and all that kind of stuff. And a lot of people are like, oh, Trump sold out, he's trying to be buddy with Mamdani, he sold out New York, he sold out the Jews, etc., etc. My friends, as you can clearly see, everybody expected there to be a openly contentious interaction, openly contentious relationship. And Trump played it perfectly. I think Trump played it absolutely perfectly, guys. And how do I know that how do we know that he's playing Mamdani? Because what did Trump do right after this meeting, guys? Right after this meeting, we get a report, we get a press release that he is declaring the Muslim Brotherhood to be a terror organization, and by extension, my friends, that includes organizations like Council for American Islamic Relations and anyone associated with them. So you could say, well, the guy's bipolar. He does something for, he does something for Muslims, and then he's something against Muslims. Something for Muslims, something against Muslims. No, my friends. This is what we call the push and the pull, right? Again, we know that he has a relationship, that Eisav has a relationship with Ishmael, right? But we also know that he has to do what's called the tikkun. He has to do the rectification. And how is he going to do it? He cannot. The rule, my friends, the rule. It's a iron law of Eisav, that he cannot disrespect Ishmael. Not only that, guys, I'm going to go even further. I'm going to tell you something that you won't like to hear. Eventually, it's not going to happen now, as we can see, but eventually, maybe even right before Mashiach comes, right, which we're really close, Ishmael has to do tshuva and unite with us. Again, guys, it doesn't look like that's, happening anytime soon. So, my friends, that means that, how could this happen, right? In what way can this happen? Well, one scenario is that Eisav, at the very least, pulls Ishmael away from his own bad parts. In this case, guys, it's Iran, right? I mentioned, speaking of Mamdani, I mentioned a few times that Mamdani basically, I don't know if this is official, I don't know if this is actually corroborated, but he is essentially an Iranian agent who came to ruin New York, who came to ruin the capital of the great Satan, right? So, my friends, we have an interesting scenario in our hands. Nothing is what it looks like. This is what you guys have to remember. Nothing is what it looks like. And now you could say, well, look at all these people. Now we have all this whole story with Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes and J.D. Vance and all these people that are around Trump, right? Listen, my friends, at the end of the day, Eisav is Eisav. As I mentioned before, Eisav is going to be essentially grappling with himself. All the while, right? All the while having this relationship with Ishmael. All the while trying to do tikkun with Yaakov, who, by the way, I mentioned this before, guys, has to become Israel, right? After wrestling with Eisav, has to become Israel. As you can see, guys, what's going on in Israel today. Israel's about to become Israel. Slowly, not without a fight, but slowly, it's about to become Israel. All of the entities that were pushing the Jewish people, the people of Israel, away from Torah and mitzvot, the house of cards is collapsing, right? So it remains to be seen, guys, what this is going to look like, vis-a-vis all this Qatar stuff and all this Saudi stuff and all this Mamdani stuff. What New York is going to look like, that's a topic for another video. But we see, guys, today or yesterday, the Muslim Brotherhood is basically a terrorist organization. They have been outlawed in America. And I don't know that a president or any individual who, I don't know, supposedly, allegedly dislikes Jews, supposedly, allegedly threw the Jews under the bus, would do something to this effect, guys. Especially since he has, yes, these associates like Qatar and the Saudi, whom supposedly would be displeased by something like this, but I haven't heard anything from them to that effect. So it's going to get interesting, my friends. And in the words of Rabbi Kessin, let's see what happens.